Alrighty, well, everyone, again, thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Holly Turner. She is the Advocacy Director at the ARC of Cumberland and Perry Counties, which I'm just going to call CPARC from now on. And she's going to talk to us tonight about understanding healthy relationships and the relationship curriculum that she uses at CPARC for individuals. Holly, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you, Katie. I was so excited to be invited to talk about this. We're very excited about the curriculum and have been using it since the summer of 2019. So I know everybody's aware of the need, but I think it's a really good curriculum. So I'd like to start with talking about why we need this curriculum. There been lots of studies out, but NPR did a really good series in 2018 on abused and betrayed, which showed that people with disabilities are a very high risk group for abuse. They are 7 times more likely to experience abuse, and they are more likely to be abused by a caregiver or someone they know. People with intellectual disabilities are often ignored when it comes to education about sex, and often are prevented from learning or developing appropriate romantic relationships. But just like all of us, that's part of the human experience to have and desire relationships with others. And without knowledge, people with disabilities often become victims or perpetrators without even being aware that they are a victim or a perpetrator, because they don't understand what sex is and what it is not. Some of the barriers to creating healthy relationships are lack of privacy. People with disabilities often need caretakers. They may need personal care. They don't always have a private place to develop a relationship. The opinions of others. There are people, maybe their family members or society, that thinks, well, they shouldn't have these types of relationships. There is very little or no sex education, often, especially with older people with disabilities, because it was not part of their education in school. In fact, schools, I'm a former special ed teacher and high school level, when the high schools do health education, it's typically in a large room with a large number of students. And if people are included, if there's inclusion happening with that type of education, it's in a large group, and it's often not a curriculum that might be the best type of learning experience for students with disabilities, and that's if they are included. There's also a lack of experience in developing relationships. We all know, if you've been through dating is hard, and it takes a lot of skills, and it takes practice and years to develop those skills. Think back to your younger days. And sometimes people with disabilities have a dependence upon others for everything, for transportation, for communication. And all of those things can be barriers to developing a healthy relationship, whether it's just friendship or it's a romantic relationship. And we're going to focus, though, on the sex education part, on the education part of relationships. So what should we do? Well, I really believe education is power, and learning about bodies and about sex, about relationships, about dating, especially about consent, gives a person the power to make good decisions. People need education that also fits their learning style and need, and we need relationship curriculums that use evidence-based instructional methods. We also need to educate staff and families about the need, about the way to help someone and support someone in this endeavor. And we need to support relationships as they develop through more education and counseling, through transportation and opportunities to meet people. The how do we do it when it comes to education is we need to use instructional methods and curriculums that meet the needs of the students, concepts that make sense, skills that apply to real life, moving from known concepts to unknown, using role playing, video modeling, visuals, breaking down large concepts into small ones, and repetition, active participation, small group instruction. That's just basic good teaching. The actual curriculum, Healthy Relationships, if you type it in Google Healthy Relationships curriculum, you should find it, is created by Wesley Spectrum, which is a nonprofit provider of education and behavioral health and autism services. It's been around for a long time. It there's much research on it. It's comprehensive, it's highly adaptable, and it teaches social skills activities to students and older individuals. They actually do have a middle school, I think, level curriculum. It was made mostly for high school students and high school students with autism, but it is not limited to that. And people with developmental and intellectual disabilities and emotional challenges are perfect for this too. When you purchase the curriculum, and we bought a grant to do that in 2019, you get a whole set of things, and they've actually changed it. You're grandfathered in. I get continued information and updated information from the creator. It was created by special education teachers and directors, therapists, school psychologists, and doctors. I email back and forth with the man who trained me, Rob Anderson, who is actively involved in teaching this curriculum, and he's very helpful. And since we began using it, the curriculum has expanded to 26 states. It was written in 2011, and they tried it out and published it in 2015. They estimate that 100,000 students, clients, families, teachers, counselors are using it. It's gone beyond schools. I think we were the first or one of the first to use the curriculum with older adults, and that's just happening more and more. Everyone knows this is a need. The curriculum has 3 modules. The first one is caring for yourself, and you can see what that entails. The second module is human sexuality. It covers human development, puberty, male and female genitalia, the basics of sex and pregnancy. We'll tell you later how we adapted that. And then the third module, which is the longest, covers relationship development, different types of relationship, a lot about boundaries, and it ends with dating. And it is the basics of dating. There are take-home supplements with questions to ask and strategies to continue the education at home. In a school situation, this is provided to parents, and they're very familiar with what is being taught in the school, but mostly so they can support it and continue to support these concepts. And I think use the same language. I think that's very important. I'm going to show you, because videos are the favorite part of the curriculum of my students. This is a video on bathroom etiquette. I don't know if you realize, you may not, that there are different rules in our society for public bathrooms for men and women. And not everyone knows that. It's not written down, it's not a law, but there's all those nuances in society that people with disabilities may or may not pick up on. And so this directly instructs in that area. So you should be able to see this screen. Katie, let me know if that's not there, but the video will come up. It will show you females in a bathroom. And I'm going to stop it, and then we'll show you males. It shows you the unsafe way and the safe way.
Oh, hey, I'm out of toilet paper. Could you please pass me some over?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, hey, that necklace is really pretty.
Thank you. It was a gift from my boyfriend.
Well, that's nice of him.
I really like your hair.
Thanks, I just got it done.
It looks really good.
Thank you.
Now, for those of you that use men's bathrooms, that might be really surprising. but women do talk to each other sometimes in the bathroom, not always. We make eye contact, we might smile, and we would easily provide toilet paper to someone in the next stall. Those are not the rules in a men's bathroom. So the next video shows the unsafe way of men in a male bathroom.
How's it going, bud? You know that weather chick, she's pretty hot, eh?
Hey man, mind your own business.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make good company conversation.
Man, it's weird when you're talking to somebody in the bathroom. What's wrong with him?
No, what a jerk. Just trying to be friendly.
So those are several things you can talk about, because in the beginning of this curriculum, you do hand washing. So this kind of repeats that again. But if you're a man or someone who uses the male bathroom, you were probably horrified because they were talking, and he chose the stall, the urinal next to him. There is a whole complete list of rules of which urinal you choose. And that's something that is discussed after you watch the video. Here is, for the women who may not know, the safe way for men to use the male bathroom. So the difference in those two it just amazes me. And that's just one example. This is what it looks like when you buy this curriculum. You get access to the website that has all the videos. And there's all these different videos that go with this lesson. When you go to the lessons, this is the page with all the lessons. So all for caring for myself, the human sexuality, the relationship development, and then additional lessons. They've added a lot. They've added some specific to COVID, how to wear a face mask. So yeah, it's been interesting watching that and seeing it grow, because again, they continue to work on it. So we tweaked a lot of this. I think every time I teach it, I tweak it more, because it was written for high school students, and obviously I'm working with adults. We adapted many things. All lessons and modules were eventually adapted to total PowerPoint presentations with additional visuals so that we could do online learning, because we started this in the summer of 2019. We developed into a 15-week curriculum. So it's once a week for an hour and a half of 15 straight weeks. It's a big commitment for the students and for the staff or parents that have to get students there. But the second group started in just before COVID hit. We got about 5 or 6 lessons in, and boom, everyone was on lockdown. So we quickly adapted this to an online presentation and continued it, taught all through COVID. And we just went back face-to-face this past summer again and had a small group face-to-face. But we kept the PowerPoint presentation because it makes it easier to teach. So that was one thing we did. We also added lessons on aging and menopause, because it doesn't stop after you get to be an adult. And we use pictures like celebrities. There's Bill Murray as he aged, and people tried to guess who the celebrity was. We talked about all the changes in the body and ways to age in a healthier way. We added a visual, a mantra. We start every lesson going over it, and we say this aloud. This is my body. I am in charge of it. I will care for it. Everyone must respect it. This is my body. And we say it every lesson. The curriculum comes with categories for relationships, and it actually is a really great way to color code and help people remember it. There's bullies or strangers, which are red. There's stop, we're not sure about them. There's acquaintances, which are caution, they're yellow, and friends, which are go. They also created a spectrum because relationships change. They can go from yellow to green to dark green as you become very close and good friends. But people can do things that quick pushes you back in the red and your relationship is red. But we said we need another category, and we first called it, what did we call it? Community helpers. But we've changed it to paid service provider, because a lot of people in our class have staff, whether they're habilitation aides, job coaches, or residential staff. They are never friends, and we really work on that. And they usually come in and identify their staff as friends until we talk about what a friend really is. And then they're identifying people as paid service providers. We talk about doctors being in the same category, librarians, fire people, men and women, police officers, all in this category. We added much more about social media safety. I actually search the week before I teach a lesson on this, everyone's social media, and they are totally amazed when up on the screen pops information and their pictures and their friends and everything I found about them because it's public. The last group, we ended up with a lot of men, and they were young men, and they had lots of friends from foreign countries, and they had said, no, I don't know who they are. I'm like, why are they your friends on Facebook? And it was obvious because she was in a bikini. So we talked about the dangers of those types of relationships and hacking on social media at the very least. But we use their own personal social media to do that. We added many, many, many more lessons on consent. We created them ourselves. You can search and find some pretty good videos right on YouTube that talk about consent. They're usually using phones as an example. May I borrow your phone? And we talk about what the definition of consent is and what it is not. And again, these lessons build, but they also repeat. So consent comes up in the very first module. We're just not always calling it consent. It comes up much more strongly in the unit on sexuality. And then as you go through boundaries and dating, it's really there again. So it is repetitive. We changed our home supplements to match adult students and change student to individual, and made sure they are adult service-based rather than school-based. And so that whoever the adult individual is going home to, whether it's staff that come to their apartment, whether it's their family, or whether it's residential staff, they all can follow this and help support them. Our classes are 18 and older. We asked the trainer whether mixed gender or not. Their suggestion was never have one person of the same sex alone in a class. There should be, if there's one woman, there should at least be 2 women. It happened that the very first time we taught the class, we had 5 men. That's our first class at the bottom there. And they bonded so well. Oh, that was such a fun class. And they were our guinea pigs because it was our first time through. They begged for class not to end, but they learned so much. Our second class, we intentionally kept that class all women, and they were the class that ended up going through COVID, and we did an online class, and that's the ladies there. This past class that I had in person, and I did a lot of one-on-one. There's a lot of people that we just did one-on-one classes with because of timing or because of maybe behavioral needs. But this last class was a mixed gender class. I will say it was very varying in ability levels. I had an individual who drove and had competitive employment, and someone who lived with his family, spoke in one-word sentences. Everyone bonded again, just like all the groups do, became very trusting of each other because that's part of the class. People share that they've been victims. I've had someone share that they were a bully, who I knew about it, but I just was so happy that he was able to identify and accept the fact that he had bullied someone and he was not going to do it again. It's an almost magical thing to see happen. I think part of it is people commit to this. We have, I think I have some statistics here. Well, here's some of the stats. I did pre-testing and post-testing, which does come with the curriculum. I rewrote the test to match our tweaks. The average final score of the post-test is 71.8%. That is an average increase of almost 40% in skill level. Attendance is almost 100% for those 15 weeks. We may have an individual here or there who misses a class, but they're very upset when they do. I think people love being in a group, talking about serious subjects that maybe they have never been allowed or felt comfortable talking about before. And we do bond because it's serious. I share my own personal dating stories. I share a time where I was sexually harassed in a movie theater when I was in college, and how I froze and didn't do anything about it. This is something that we all bond with. We also created a second course, but these are people that have been through both. They were interviewed by our public relations person and asked, what was the most important thing you learned? Tristan said, I've learned that boundaries are the key to succeeding in relationships. Kathy said, well, why did you sign up? I'm going out with someone and I wanted to learn to care for my body and say no and learn about consent. Tristan was so honest. Why did you sign up? I'm learning how to control relationships without causing chaos. And I was looking for a date as I'm currently single. Our first men's group admitted they all came because they were looking for love. They thought they'd find them in class. That's not typically what happens. And we don't encourage that because we're there to learn about relationships. Kathy said she liked meeting the other ladies and she misses them. That, again, we bond. Abby said she liked watching videos. Videos are very popular. You saw what they're like. They're very high quality. They're well done. What do you want people to know? Tristan said, relationships can be a tad tricky and it's hard to find a relationship. Our students requested more classes. In fact, halfway through Healthy Relationships 2, because I did create it, they were asking for Healthy Relationships 3. But Healthy Relationships 2 is a 4-session, it's not 15 weeks, it's 4 sessions. And we review Healthy Relationships 1, and then we get into more serious concepts. It gets much deeper about issues in dating. And I use a different curriculum for that. I use a curriculum, it is an older curriculum, the James Stanfield Company's Date Smart curriculum. I do not use anything but the videos. If anyone's familiar with this or you order it, the materials are rather out of date. But the videos are very, very intensive. They cover things such as sex versus love, how to decide what your limits are and then keep them, how to avoid unsafe situations. It talks about alcohol and drugs and shows the videos are people at parties, people being pressured into sex. And the very last one is, it doesn't show the actual sexual abuse, but you absolutely know that's what happened. And it's a really heavy, video. Not everyone can handle that. So, we talk with the families and with staff and whether someone can handle that. And it's always people who have already been through Healthy Relationships 1. We also let people take Healthy Relationships 1 repeatedly because you can still continue to learn and to review skills. It's not a once and done situation. So what do we do now? Well, we continue. We are far from done. We keep getting requests for this. I'm actually doing a one-on-one session with someone through the public defender's office. They said they passed this around to all the attorneys, and but this young man got in trouble. I talked to him just today because he only has ever been on one date. He's never had a serious relationship. He's in his 30s. And he got in trouble because he went the wrong way about trying to find a woman to have a relationship with. One of the other sources, and I'm going to end with this, is from Love on the Spectrum. I personally think it's a great way to sit with someone and talk about dating skills. My husband and I watch it and we said, remember that? We really related to the issues of dating. I think everyone has the same issues in trying to find someone. but we all also want someone. So hopefully you can see this.
Tell me, do you have any rules for dating?
Give her a bunch of flowers or a box of chocolates.
You have to be careful not to smother each other too much.
Don't talk too much about yourself. If he or she asks questions about you, you can answer, but keep it brief.
No secrets, no lies, and no cheating.
Just try to be mindful of your language. Just try to behave, not do anything that might feel weird or something that might offend or upset her.
No humiliating me in public.
Alcohol, sometimes when you do drink it, you tend to go a bit overboard in that. Maybe drink only soft drinks.
Don't want her to get drunk, then sent to the hospital like my cousin did.
It's a man's duty to pay for the ladies.
Just don't be a dick in general.
Don't get too excited, because being overexcited can put other people off.
Is it appropriate to make a move on a first date?
Personally, I would just wait until like the 3rd or 4th date, but maybe the 4th or 5th just to be on the safe side.
I shouldn't touch her body. It's no good.
I don't necessarily like being touched or touching. Then that's probably a big rule for me, you know, to have our space.
I hug them very gently, but if to do that, you will need permission first.
Just take your time. Don't rush it on the first date, and eventually it will begin to slowly take place. And more importantly, enjoy her company and have a really wonderful time.
So that is the end of my PowerPoint, and I wondered if there were any questions.
Thank you so much, Holly. Maria, I see that you raised your hand, so I'm going to unmute you to see if you want to ask Holly your question.
When do you have these and where and what time?
Well, CPARC has them. Our next class will be in the spring. We haven't sent out that announcement. If you live close to Cumberland County, I don't know where you're from, Maria, you could possibly join, because it would be a face-to-face class, and we could get you connected to that. I see Sandy has a question. Do you know how the program's utilized in high schools? I would imagine they use it very much as the curriculum is written. I know there are local school districts in central Pennsylvania that bought them this year, and I'm really happy about that.
So Holly, while we have some more questions waiting to come in, I'm just going to ask a few questions just about the curriculum in general. First off, you just answered one, is who do you offer it to? So mainly around the Cumberland Perry area. But is there a charge for anyone who might be interested in doing this class?
You mean in purchasing the curriculum?
No, if the person wants to attend the class, do they have to pay in the class?
It is totally free of charge. We do not charge for the class at all. We bought the curriculum with a grant, and we continue to use grant money to have class. We're very happy. So we have 2 large classes twice a year. Usually one starts in the summer and goes till October. I mean, it's 15 weeks. And then the other one starts in March, April, and it goes for 15 weeks. Again, once in a while, we will have some one-on-one or online classes, especially for people who can do it during the day.
Thank you. Sandy, I see your question. Do other ARCs provide this course? And is there a list? As of right now, I think the ARC of Cumberland Perry might be the only one that does this specific course. We can kind of put together a list of what resources other ARC chapters have. But I think that's a good question following this, Holly, is if you guys are going to be doing any more remote classes via Zoom that maybe someone who's not in the Cumberland Perry area could take part in if it's not the full 15 weeks.
Well, and true, if there is a real interest in that, and maybe Katie, you could be our go-to, if there's a real interest in a Zoom class that we could schedule, I would be quite willing to do a group for people from all over.
And I see here, Christina Rossi asked, how can I sign up? So Christina, I'm gonna go ahead and pop Holly's email address into the chat. And I also have your email, Christina, from when you signed up to attend today. So I can also send you an email there, but I will put Holly's contact information in the chat so that you can reach out to her about that. So while we wait a few more minutes, Holly, do you want to talk a little bit more in depth about kind of why the curriculum is so important and kind of what the highlights were? I know you touched a bit on that, but especially you said you focus a lot around sex and healthy relationships in general and why that's so important. Can you share some other stories about what you've learned by having this class?
Well, I mean, as an advocate, I do get called by public defenders or by support coordinators, and there are individuals in our area who have gotten in trouble with the law or have been victims of sexual abuse. And a lot of that is because they've never been given the education, which is power, to learn how to develop relationships appropriately. So they took the wrong way. They might have harassed somebody or stalked them or even exposed themselves because they were just trying to reach out and build a relationship. Also, there are people who don't know how to say no. They're very compliant and they didn't want to be in a relationship and they were forced to. We really, especially with women's groups, we really try to empower them to say no. I don't want that to happen. And men too, because men can be pressured into relationships they're not interested in. So that's a lot of the reason. We want people to be able to make good choices. We do talk about what is a healthy relationship and what is not. And some people may identify that they're in not a great relationship at the time. But it also covers friendship because we talk about friendship. People had said they've learned how to make friends. People confuse friendliness with friendship and identify staff as friends or anyone who's friendly to them. And that's not safe. And we want people to develop really true friendships. So that's part of the curriculum also.
Thank you, Holly. I think what we saw in the video and by the responses is that individuals that take this feel empowered.
Yes.
Their body and they can talk about it and they own it. We did have another question from ARC of Susquehanna Valley. They do have something similar, but they're very interested in the curriculum. So again, I think you'd want to reach out to Holly for more information on how you can get that. But as I said earlier, I have everyone's emails from whenever you signed up. So what I'll do whenever I send out the recorded video of this to everyone, I'll include Holly's contact information in that as well. So you can reach out to her with any of those questions.
Sounds great.
We'll give it another 2 minutes here or a few minutes to see if anyone else has any other questions. Holly, is there anything else you would like to say or share?
No, it is such a fun class to teach. I mean, it is fun because of the bonding, because of the excitement that happens in class. It's magic. I don't know if I can put words to it, but people are just, I think they feel empowered. They feel so empowered, and that's a wonderful feeling. And so, yeah, I wish everybody could teach this class.
Well, Holly, thank you so much for joining us here today and kind of talking about your curriculum and what you guys are doing in the Central PA region, helping individuals understand their bodies and have healthy relationships. I will definitely let you know if we get some people that want to do this course via Zoom or something, since they live outside the area. But again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening and almost happy Friday. Bye, everyone.